Hello, this is John Gibson, and you're on Bod-e-Volv TV, the no-gimmick, no-hype place to get your body to evolve to a leaner, stronger, new you. Breakfast has been called one of the most important meals of the day, and for fat loss this may be true because there's a strong correlation between breakfast and weight loss. People who tend to eat breakfast also tend to be leaner. But what should we eat during breakfast? Commercials tell us that cereal is part of a complete breakfast with your orange juice, your toast, and your bowl of cereal with milk, and then the American Heart Association is telling us that low fat is the way to go, but the problem is that the research is telling us something completely opposite. But first, let's look at why breakfast is a good thing. When we go to sleep, we are in a fasted state. We're not eating any food, and we don't have anything to keep our blood sugar up. So what happens is our body releases cortisol. Cortisol goes to our liver and muscles, and it grabs glucose from the glycogen stored there, so that it can get in our bloodstream and keep our blood sugar up throughout the night. So when you wake up in the morning, your cortisol levels are high, and this is a good thing. But the problem is that most of us are extremely stressed, and we have a lot of stress in our lives, and cortisol is a stress hormone. Acutely, if cortisol is high, it gives us the energy we need, it makes us alert, and it helps us do the things we need to do to function. But if cortisol is chronically high, it can lead to some problems. Things like feeling wired and irritable all the time, having increased cravings for sugar and sweet things. It can also lead to potential problems with your sex hormones, with testosterone and estrogen. Along with that, high cortisol has been associated with poor sleep, which in and of itself can cause a lot of problems. So one goal of breakfast is to help us to get our cortisol levels down. As soon as we eat breakfast, it begins to drop our cortisol levels. Along with that, eating breakfast alone can help regulate your blood sugar throughout the rest of the day. But here's the main question: what should we eat for breakfast? Again, we've been told to eat cereal, oatmeal, to eat all these higher carb, lower fat products. But when it comes down to it, the research is telling us the best thing to have is a meal with a lot of protein, with healthy fats, include vegetables or fruits, and if you're able to tolerate carbohydrates, add in some high fiber carbohydrates. Let's look at protein first. A high protein breakfast has been shown to decrease hunger at later meals. It also decreases your appetite throughout the day. It slows how fast food empties from your stomach. It can also blunt the rise in a hormone called ghrelin. And ghrelin is one of your hunger hormones. It tells you when you're hungry. When it's in high amounts, you tend to be more hungry. So if we can keep our ghrelin levels low, we're not going to be as hungry. Also, protein has a higher thermic effect of feeding. And what that means is that for every gram of protein you consume, it requires more energy to digest it and absorb it than it does compared to a gram of carbohydrate or a gram of fat. So in a sense, you burn more calories digesting protein than you do the other foods. And for your breakfast, protein can come from eggs, some sort of a poultry, your beef, a vegetarian source. You could even use protein powders. And the list goes on. You can add any type of protein you'd like in the morning. Now, I also said we need to have healthy fats in our breakfast. But I want you to understand something. This whole low-fat business that we've been taught for years and years has been one of the worst cases of nutrition misinformation that's ever been told. We need fat for a lot of reasons. If we're cutting fat out of our diet, it can affect our hormones. A lot of our hormones are made from fats. Our brain is mostly made up of fat, and we need fats for our brain development. There's a lot of vitamins we can't get unless we consume it with fat. Our cell walls themselves are made up of a fat layer. And the list goes on. Fat is extremely important for the functioning of our bodies. Now, I'm not saying you need to go out there and eat 4 to 5 pounds of butter every day, but we need to make sure we're eating enough fat, and the low-fat craze that's been going on has been restricting our fat intake too much. You can get your healthy fats from the egg yolks that you use. So please do not throw out your egg yolks. There's a ton of nutrients in there. And I know there's a lot of cholesterol in the egg yolk, but it won't raise your blood cholesterol. Your bowl of cereal actually has a greater chance of raising your cholesterol than the egg yolk does. The other types of fats you can add some coconut oil. We could eat some nuts or nut butters. And again, the list goes on. Okay, now the other thing I said was veggies. Wait, hold on a second. You want me to eat veggies for breakfast? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Veggies are packed full of vitamins, minerals, and phytochemicals, and a whole bunch of other things that are absolutely crucial to our body and things that we don't even know of yet. Things that we're still trying to discover. Oh, and along with that, veggies have a bunch of fiber. And veggies are a lot easier to add to your breakfast than you think. What about having an egg omelet? Throw in some peppers and tomatoes, onions or spinach or mushroom in there. Or if you had a smoothie in the morning, get a little bit of protein powder, put some veggies and fruit in there, and blend it all up, and you've got a good breakfast meal right there. But here's the thing is I'm never the person to push something on somebody and to make you do something you're not comfortable with. So if you're not okay with having vegetables for breakfast, that's all right. Let's start with having fruit. because fruit is also packed with all the good stuff. Start with fruit, and then later on we can add some vegetables in. Okay, now for the carbohydrate. I said earlier that it's okay to add carbohydrates to your meal if you can tolerate it. And remember, this whole thing, we're talking about fat loss here. So eating a breakfast that's going to help your body burn the most fat. The problem is that most people are eating way too many carbohydrates throughout the day, and that's one reason why they're not losing the weight they want to lose. Along with that, there's a lot of people walking around with carbohydrate intolerances, or some sort of insulin resistance, or maybe even full-blown diabetes. diabetes, and these people just don't know it. They don't realize that they have these things going on. So if your diet is solid and you're not losing any weight, try decreasing your carbohydrate amounts and let's see what happens. And breakfast is a great place to start decreasing those carbohydrates. But here's the biggest and most important thing. Stay away from the processed junk food carbs. Things like your donuts, pastries, pancakes made from refined flours, and most things that come in a box. Remember, your favorite breakfast cereals will fall into this category of processed carbohydrates, including kashi, your shredded wheat, and then your bran cereals. And again, most oatmeals will also be in that category of processed carbohydrates. If you do want to eat carbohydrates with your breakfast, here is a great list of things that you can add. Things like still cut oats, quinoa, amaranth, teff, sweet potatoes. And the list can keep going on, but the idea is that these are real whole grains and carbohydrates and not processed counterfeiters. Now, what about amounts for all of these? How much do you have of all these things? Let's go with the protein first. I want to make this as simple as possible. Instead of saying you're going to have a cup of this or so many ounces of that, let's go with something that's with you all the time, your hand. So let's compare our foods to that. So for protein, what I recommend is that women have 1 palm size worth of protein with their breakfast. And for men, I recommend having 2. So the protein itself should fit the size of your palm and about the thickness of your palm. So for different sized people, that's going to turn out to be a different size portion of protein. And for men, you get double, and women get 1. And now for the fats, what I recommend is going with your thumb. Men get 2 thumbs, women get 1 thumb. And for the veggies, let's go with at least 1 fist size. And now if you're going with fruit, go with small cupped hand. If you're adding the carbohydrates in, go with a small cupped hand size. And below this video, you can find a few of my favorite breakfast recipes. So go ahead, check those recipes out, and enjoy. Now it's your turn. What are your favorite breakfast foods? Do you have any recipes that you would love to share? If you do, go ahead and share those down in the comments. And if you're not already at fatlossevolution.com, head on over there and join in on the conversation. Did you like this video? If so, don't forget to subscribe and don't be stingy. Share this post with your friends. Trust me, they'll thank you for it. Also, make sure not to miss out on the free 5-day fat loss course. You can sign up for that by putting your email into the opt-in boxes either at the top or the bottom of the page. In the 5-day fat loss course, you'll learn what really works to help you lose fat. Plus, I'll give you some cool info that I only share through email. And remember that the real secret to fat loss is consistently doing a little better every day. You have the ability to accomplish whatever you want. Now just go and do it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Bod-e-Volv TV.